Death Battle. You know him, you more or less love him. They produced some pretty cool fights, but they've also made some rather baffling crap. Okay, take that how you will, but unlike a lot of other people, I don't think Death Battle is that bad of a channel. Sure, they do often tend to get things rather wrong in their analyses and results, but to be honest, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this channel overall. At their best, I'd argue they produce some real exquisite works of art that everyone should see at least once. Battles like Raiden vs Wolverine, or Omni-Man vs Homelander, or Samurai Jack vs Afro Samurai, just to name a few, are some of the most beautifully animated and executed fights I've probably ever seen that weren't animated by the characters' main studio and company. In fact, this whole channel was inspired by Screw Attack to span out and make fights on my own, hence why the description isn't in tune with what I've been releasing lately. But, much like any channel, Death Battle's lowest lows are rather, pretty awful. Saitama vs Kenshiro, even though it was just more so Genos vs Kenshiro. Venom vs Bane, Ben 10 vs Green Lantern, the 7 Battle Royale, just to name several of them. Although I don't necessarily care about any of these battles to make a video discussing why they're absolute dog crap and why they should try better, if there's one video I most certainly do care about that I'd argue is on the bottom end of the Death Battle quality spectrum, and one that I'm shocked not many other people discuss me, it's Nathan Drake vs Lara Croft. Now, Nate isn't my only favorite video game character who's appeared in a fight, but Ratchet & Clank vs Jak and Daxter was at least a fist-pumping thrill ride of a fight that had thought and care put into it. In this video, however, any quality that may have been present in some of Death Battle's all-time greatest isn't here whatsoever, both in the analysis and especially when discussing the fight and the justification for Lara's victory. Now, I'm not here to discuss who I think should have won. I'm not going to make this video that long. I am here to give my thoughts and critiques of the general quality of this episode and why I think it just fell so flat in practically every department, especially in the fight, and how it just frustrates me down to my core as they fail to deliver on just how close of a match this is. So, without further ado, let's get her going. Lara's analysis was odd. On one hand, they mostly nailed the classic Lara analysis section of her, but they seem rather confused with which Lara to truly draw feats from, seeing how they kinda haphazardly finagled their way through canon with the Tomb Raider franchise. Do we pick the Stabby Stab feat from the 2013 reboot, which is an entirely different Lara from the classic titles, by the way? Do we use Legend Lara's feats despite being a remake of the first Tomb Raider game, and then also proceed to use feats from the first game, as if they both somehow coexist? I will admit, however, they did manage to be fairly constant and faithful with Lara, listing her strengths, which spans quite a lot, and even, well, hinting at a weakness of hers, which is that she often gets in over her head given her headstrong, direct, and badass mannerisms. I mean, there's so many more weaknesses once you add the reboot Lara into the chemical compound, but to each its own. However, there are some inaccuracies I want to address here. First of all, Lara didn't get shot here. It's so obvious that the bullet grazed her shoulder. I mean, pay attention to the stance she's in and the fact that it literally looks like her arm was cut rather than punctured. There are better feats of her getting shot. I'm surprised this was the feat that was homed into. But you also forgot to mention that this is reboot Lara, not classic Lara, and immediately afterwards she was struggling to actually fight the person who shot her. But besides that, the Lara analysis wasn't too shabby. They just could have maybe acknowledged Lara's many weaknesses now they issued reboot Lara here. Now we reach Nathan. They were overall very sloppy with this, as they disparaged way too many of Nathan's greatest feats here. Actually, in retrospect, they didn't mention practically any of his feats, and the ones they did, they blew way too much out of proportion. First of all, do acknowledge that Lara could shoot throwing stars out of the air and bolts out of their hinges, so why not mention when Nathan shot the cap off of a bottle, or a lever, or even missiles out of the air, and individual snipers out of towers? Or when he nailed Ramses without much time at all aiming, or when he successfully killed people while swinging off of a rope or moving on a high-speed vehicle. They mention absolutely no aiming feats here, and that's just baffling. You mentioned Lara enduring a 250-foot dive into water, so why not mention when Nathan also did this at very similar heights? You actually alluded to how impressive Lara's stabbing feat was, so why not mention just how impressive Nathan's feat was too? You mentioned Lara punching people through beams, why not mention Nathan's similar feats of this as well? You stated Lara's combat feats and skills, so why not mention Nathan's one which he has in spades? They just left out so much crap here that it's insane. Instead, they opted to just summate or give brief descriptions of his more detailed succession, such as when he discovered El Dorado and Shangri-La. They did mention his impressive jumping feats in Ironhide, so that's good to see they didn't miss everything with him. But they just excluded so much crap here, actual relevant crap at that. They mention how most of his feats are reliant on an abundance of luck, but I'm a wait on that, don't you worry. My overall thoughts with this is that they were honestly so sloppily done. Most of his feats weren't touched upon, whereas a lot of Lara's were, and so it's practically evident at this rate that they're most certainly going to have Lara win. I mean, just judging from the detail and variety of feats Lara had compared to Nathan. So let's just move on to the fight. This fight is honestly one of Death Battle's absolute worst ones. Let's start by addressing the most obvious flaw with this. Nathan's model and voice acting is dog crap. His hair's textures are glitching more than the Spider-Man from Spider-Verse did, and although his lines do work well on paper, they're tattered by a lifeless performance from someone who sounds like they have a sore throat and a sock stuffed down their esophagus.
Okay, that's definitely not good. Gotcha. Ah, crap.
Ha 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 ha. Lara's model and actress are just, it's fine. I mean, is it any surprise that Lara's deck was stacked, whereas Nathan gets set up with the short end of the stick?
Not a scratch.
Do you know what you've done?
The shot? What? You shot it with your supposed crack shot level accuracy, not Nathan. What, is she just salty that she screwed up and used Nathan as a scapegoat? That'd actually be pretty funny, provided it was the intent. It was obviously supposed to be a let's show off Nathan's treasure hunting and aptitude moment, which makes no sense. Do you seriously expect me to believe that Nathan, with his multi-decade experience of treasure hunting, wouldn't know how to avoid doing something like this? I mean, look at how he found the treasure in the first place, not by using his intelligence, but by coincidentally stepping on the correct pressure plate which reveals the dough. Here's a hot take, Death Battle. Nathan is actually rather intelligent. You glossed over his feats of him actually using his head to solve elaborate issues and discover cracks in the feasibility armor of particular puzzles and conundrums.
Wait a minute. Damn. Sully, I don't think the Chintamani stone is here.
What?
Listen to this. I would have sooner endured the wrath of Kublai Khan himself than remove the Chintamani stone from that sacred shrine. Marco Polo never had the stone.
Well, if the stone's not here, what the hell is Lazarevich looking for?
Shambhala.
Here in Borneo? He's a little wide of the mark, don't you think?
He must be trying to pick up Marco Polo's trail. Back to Shambhala.
Why?
Because the stone is still there. This digging they've done, have they found any bodies, any remains at all?
No, now that you mention it, nothing. Why?
Over 600 people were shipwrecked here, yet there's no bodies. Don't you find that a little odd?
So where did they all go?
Where would you go if a tsunami hit?
To higher ground.
Bingo. We head to that mountain. What do you bet we find Marco's pals?
All right, let's see what he makes of them.
You know, that kind of looks...
Hold on.
What are you doing? You just took pictures.
Hold that. You know, Avery's recruits wouldn't have had smartphones, obviously.
Obviously.
So this would have been the only way for them to get to the next clue.
These are clues.
Here, let me see. Voila.
Oh, man.
The temple must have been built around this.
Around what?
A statue. A gold statue.
A huge gold statue. And look here. These people, they're worshipping the damn thing. At least, I think they're people.
Of course. El Dorado, the Golden Man. Sully, it wasn't a city of gold. It was this. It was a golden idol.
Man, can you imagine what that thing would be worth now?
Look over here. Tracks. I bet the Spanish dragged it out on cut logs. We're 400 years late for this party.
So the trail's cold.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Son of a bitch.
Unless
Unless what?
we follow the tracks.
Small problem. The Rubal Khali Desert, 600 miles across.
The Bedouin go around the damn thing.
And even if we knew where it was, which we don't, we would die trying to find
Just
it.
hold on. You see these symbols here?
Yeah? Looks like Sabaean
Sabaean
script.
Right. Look, the Crusaders were searching for the same lost city 1,000 years ago. But out of all the sites Lawrence documented, only 2 are marked with these symbols. One in Syria, the other in France. No, you 2 are going to Syria. We're heading to France.
But maybe some of you also want me to debunk this, which, yeah, I can. I mean, look at this moment from the comic, where he recognizes that the tablet is rigged and avoids removing it from its plate. Then Chloe recklessly removes it and, yeah, it was truly rigged. Or this moment in Uncharted 4.
It's another cross. At least this one has some jewels on it, right?
Whoa, whoa, don't touch it.
What? Why?
Look at it. It's the only valuable thing we've seen in this cave.
Right.
This is another test.
Agreed.
Yeah. Or lack thereof.
Okay, so...
It's gotta be the coins.
Are we sure about this?
I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure we'll have to do.
Just one now.
Agreed. I got it. Please don't be a trap.
Kings Bay.
Yeah, but, where in Kings Bay? You'll need that cross over there to figure it out, but there's only 2 people that can tell you how to use it.
Let me guess. You 2.
I'm gonna leave it to Rafe. You're gonna be waiting a long time.
Sorry, boys. I'm not here to negotiate. Bring me the crucifix.
It's not a crucifix.
What?
Well, technically, a crucifix refers to a cross that... You know what? Never mind.
Don't touch it!
Nathan has been doing this for decades. He's no slouch. You seriously think that he wasn't smart enough to recognize this, yet discovers several ancient civilizations, read and speak several languages such as Sabaean script, Tibetan, 16th century Latin, Moldavian runes, etc.? Yeah, no. Then there's this little hand-to-hand moment here where I'll give them a ton of credit for at least being smart enough to know that Nathan can most certainly dodge roundhouse kicks to the face. Instantly makes them smarter than Nadine's entire fanbase by default. But it's funny how he throws a headbutt here rather than just, I don't know, using a move that's much more appropriate here, such as a kick, which you can most certainly do. Alright, then yeah, afterwards the temple starts crumbling and Nathan and Lara narrowly escape. Nathan drives away with the chalice and Lara quickly catches up after barely saving herself before falling entirely into a pit. Then they engage a bit more in combat and Nathan wounds up between a potential arrow and a hard place. But then the car crashes and Lara's limping here. She's really hurt here from jumping off of a car on sand. Oh no, whatever will she do? Then Nathan teleports inside of Lara's helicopter and attempts to fly away. Nathan Drake attempts to flee a fight. Then Lara ratios the helicopter with her climbing axe and the propeller impales Nathan and kills him. What the shock did I just type and read? There's practically no sugarcoating this. This is one of the most poorly thought out sequences of events that I've ever seen in a fight before. First of all, I know a lot of people have issues with Lara catching up with Nathan, but personally I'm willing to suspend my disbelief with that. What I'm not willing to suspend my disbelief for are the fight's awkward attempts at building stakes. Like, seriously, why is Lara bruising up and limping after avoiding a car crash after everything she's tanked before? Why is Nathan attempting to flee the fight? Actually, you know what? Let's discuss that. Why is Nathan attempting to flee the fight?
Okay, Mitzi. First rule about me. I don't walk away.
Not only have we never seen Nate fly a helicopter before, but why didn't Lara just fly the helicopter to the temple in the first place rather than having to drive there? How did she get a motorcycle and how did Nate get a jeep there? Why, I don't know, he just have Sully fly him there? Why is there this random helicopter pad right next to the temple? I guess the denizens of the temple must have somehow invented helicopters centuries ago. This feels so staged. There are a myriad of plot holes with this that never get answered, and all feels like as though he was preparing Lara to just ratio the helicopter as a callback to the comic. Funny, you wouldn't think Nathan would ever want to fly a helicopter at all, considering this line.
Hate helicopters!
It doesn't feel intuitive. It feels like a let's dog on Nate by remaining faithful to Lara and not Nathan. Another issue I discovered when in retrospect was that Nathan's luck was nowhere to be seen throughout the entire fight. Unlike every single game, Nathan's luck never bails him out of any situation here. You'd think this moment here would be a perfect opportunity to showcase it, but instead, no. Now, some may think this Jeep crash moment is an example of his luck by bailing him out from Lara's arrow, but that's kind of expected when no one is steering a Jeep through a desert and two people are fighting on it. That's just natural, not luck. Also, yeah, it's so lucky that instead of Nathan getting shot by Lara, the Jeep instead crashes into a structure with Nathan in it and blows it all up to heaven. That's so lucky, am I right? An example of his luck would have been Lara shoots the arrow, but I don't know, the Jeep tilts for a split second and the arrow instead hits the brake pad, which halts the car, sending her flying off and Nathan just fine. That's luck, not both of them suffering. There's legit zero examples of his luck in this fight. Honestly, it seems more as though Lara got the luck here. I mean, coincidentally, Nathan puts aside his vendetta against choppers and attempts to fly one out of the battlefield, which works perfectly for Lara, seeing that she's capable of obliterating them with just a climbing axe, and then rather than Lara killing Nathan herself, she instead leaves the propeller to do that instead? Even if it wasn't her intent, she sure as hell did not react like that. It was way too staged to be natural. Lara got the luck in this fight. I mean, after all, she somehow climbed out of the pit and caught up with Nathan in time too, as well as the fact that Nate found the treasure for her and all, as well as Nathan not trying to kill her while she's literally bruised up and vulnerable from the crash. So yeah, Lara had Nathan's luck in this fight for whatever reason. Why did Lara get it, as confusing and odd as it may sound? The death didn't feel earned at all. Lara didn't even kill him with any superior skill or some crap. I'm willing to accept Nathan losing due to bad luck, but to make it feel more impactful, maybe showcase his good luck throughout the fight first, rather than, I don't know, just giving it to Lara? Also, why was he so bruised from the helicopter explosion? I mean, he effortlessly brushed off the car crash, which Lara didn't, and has brushed off tank rockets and grenades, so what's up with this? Also, you expected me to believe he wouldn't just, I don't know, roll out of the way, use his skill? God, this fight was just so awful. Crapping on Nathan while simultaneously wanking Lara up, great. 2 out of 10, do much, much better. But what about the justification, man? I mean, if there's one thing that's often good about these episodes are the justifications. What a shocker, this one is also dog crap. More examples of just crapping on Nate while making Lara seem like the second coming of Jesus Christ. Firstly, let's cover the argument of the goddamn century. All of Nathan's feats are due to luck. This case has been following me like some sort of retarded rash. First of all, where's the proof? This episode listed legit 2 or 3, I guess, examples of Nathan using explosives to escape a nasty situation as a way to justify this claim. Hell, the cargo plane example wasn't even Nathan's fault, seeing that he never intended on doing it, as well as the fact that he was not the only one shooting in the cargo hold, unlike the 2 other examples. But there's the fact that Nathan has never once blindly used luck when in a situation. Name me one time he's ever just been like, oh, this looks bad, I guess I'll rely on pure blind luck to make it out of here, or some crap. He still has to garner the strength to climb these walls, to react and fight accordingly with these people, to pick up and aim the damn gun and land the shot. I mean, look at me, I'm shooting these walls, I'm somehow not hitting the enemies. Why doesn't it I don't know, ricochet off of the wall? If his luck was so good, why does he even try aiming? Why doesn't he just pull a Rango and randomly shoot some random crap and still somehow bag the villain? Why does he even try to do crap? He should just stand there and do nothing. He's actually relying on luck. He still had to climb the damn train, traverse the mountains, fight off the soldiers, and gather the determination to power through the blizzard. That wasn't luck, that was determination. How the hell was any of this luck? Do you even know what luck means? Success or failure apparently brought by chance rather than through one's own actions. By chance, not one's own actions. Do you want to see someone whose greatest feats are actually due to luck?
You're headed into the tunnel.
I'm that kid's only hope, so sit tight and wait for my word.
I'm dropping in.
That's a negative, Soul Survivor. Luck is not a superpower. We are so fucked.
No, we will certainly not fucked.
Seriously, I don't get it. What, you shoot luck lasers out of your eyes? It's hard to picture, and certainly not very cinematic. I mean, luck? What coked-out, glass-pipe suckers came up with that little chestnut? Probably a guy who can't draw feet! Once again, it all falls on my shoulders. It's why I'm cursed to be a solo act. Wander the earth. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm in.
How in the...
Oh, shit. It's cable, 12 o'clock.
I'm coming up on your 6. That gun is amazing! Got it! No, I don't. Showtime, mama!
Lady Luck, take the wheel. You're doing great. That's unfortunate. Here goes nothing.
Turns out Domino's a bit of a badass, and maybe, possibly mildly lucky.
Now look, I'm not going to say Nate never relies on blind luck to win. Even if he doesn't notice it, he most certainly is a lucky guy. But to say that everything he does can be chalked up to nothing but luck is so demeaning. You're treating it as though performing these feats is comparable to waltzing down the street, even though he does so many things impossible to perform for humans. If he was so lucky, he would stand still and everything would take care of itself for him. He wouldn't need to raise his fists, he wouldn't need to use his brain, he wouldn't need to aim the gun or even pick it up at all, etc. Screwtack mentions that he wasn't even certain of survival during the train feat, as if he was relying on luck.
Cornered on a train and bleeding out from a bullet wound, his solution was to simply blow the whole thing to oblivion. What a convenient pile of propane tanks! But of course, he survived the crash and even climbed to safety, despite having no way of knowing he'd get out of this whole mess alive at all.
But if his luck was so practical, then he wouldn't have been in the train car dangling off of the damn cliffside and have to use, as in use his own actions, his absurd upper body strength to climb the train. Why is he reacting so accordingly to these attacks? Why doesn't he just blindly move his head around everywhere and hope he dodges all of these moves? Why is he reacting differently to different fighting moves instead of not reacting at all, or just reacting identically to every single one? Why is he pushing through the desert? Why didn't someone, I don't know, fly over him and save him? Or how come he didn't find any drinkable water whatsoever? This isn't luck. This is luck.
Wait a minute. Now what's so important about that tower? Oh, son of a bitch!
This isn't luck.
Whoa! Holy shit, did I do that?
This is luck.
katanas!
This isn't luck. This is luck.
Snipers! There's just too many of them. This is it. This is it. I can't do this. What was that? English?
What? English, I speak English. No. Don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me.
تعال عدو شيله يلا تعالوا
Luck happens by chance, not by Nathan using his skill, strength, and determination. Otherwise, what is stopping Lara from also being someone who's 100% reliant on nothing but sheer luck? We're on the same page now? Good. Next, another point they address is that the pushing of the 27-ton limestone pyramid blocks feed edged out over Nathan's 20-ton boulders feed. What they forgot to mention is that Lara clearly pushed herself much more when pushing these blocks than Nathan did, seeing how she constantly switched posture and her body language suggesting this. And she even needed to take brief intervals in between each push before she could get back at it, unlike Nate, who managed to keep on trucking every time. They state that Nate didn't push his one as far as Lara did, but then again, that's not because he couldn't, but rather because he didn't need to. They also don't address Nathan's superior feat of strength, such as here when Lara needed assistance from this turret to push over this pillar, yet Nathan managed to just kick a pillar over himself, which also shattered an adjacent one. Next, they claim that Lara has endured crap worse than Nathan could take while showing footage of her falling into a dumpster from the top of a building, after prior to this explicitly stating that Nathan has survived about 40-foot falls onto flat ground and still managing to get up, which in of itself outclasses this one, seeing that the garbage at least mitigated her fall a bit. They then sort of compare Nathan's bullet feed and Lara's rebar one, but I'm gonna wait on that for a bit. For now, I'll address their next statement, which involves how Lara received professional training to improve herself, whereas Nathan remained mostly self-taught with a few tips from Sully, an experienced ex-Navy officer who kicks soldiers' asses, which they didn't mention here of course. But in case they forgot the whole premise of the gameplay, Nathan more often than not easily manages to destroy soldiers with elite training. Talbot, his entire damn army, Zoran's army, the list goes on. So I don't see a skill gap between the two significantly affecting either one. Not to mention Nathan's killed so much more people than Lara has. Next, they address how Lara manages to keep a cooler head over tense situations than Nathan does, while showing footage of Lara escaping a pit slowly becoming overrun by spikes. Not only has Nathan experienced an identical situation in Uncharted 2, which he didn't lose his cool over and instead found a way to disable the trap, but they also used the moment of Nate demanding Elena floors it to the train as an example of him failing to keep his head on his shoulders. Not only is this the only time, besides his discussion with Schaefer, where he fails to keep a level head over a tense situation, but they disparage moments throughout not only the same game, but also the entire series, where Nathan manages to think fast and use his head in seemingly fatal situations, such as in the canon Uncharted Eye of Indra motion comic, where he and Eddie invade Pinkerton's mansion, and they find themselves cornered. He conducted a plan to hide their gun and allow themselves to get caught, knowing that they'd get tortured rather than killed first, which ended up working as smoothly as butter. Wow, what do you know? Or how about in Uncharted 4, where they were infiltrating the Rossi estate and he learned that Rafe and Nadine were both also there. Unlike Sully and Sam, who were understandably worried, Nate was instead cautious and managed to calm them both down and also get them out of the situation.
Ah, crap. Sam, Sully, you there?
God damn it, kid, where the hell you been?
I made it. Had a few close calls, but...
Yeah, well, if you're gonna cut the power, now would be a good time.
Alright, well, I'm gonna need a minute before I can reach the panel.
We don't have a minute. Rafe's about to walk out of here with your cross.
Wait, what? Rafe? Rafe is here?
Yes, Rafe is here, and as of right now,
He has the highest bid. Well, outbid him.
with what? I don't have that kind of scratch.
Sully, we're stealing it, remember?
What if he calls my bluff?
He won't. right.
We have 90,000. Do I hear any more bids?
Guys, if we do not get this cross, I am as good as dead.
Yeah. Well, I end up with the highest bid, we're all dead.
Sully, I need you to buy me more time.
Since we have no other bids.
Trust me.
Going once? Going twice?
Screw it.
Bene, we have 100,000 euros in the room. Thank you. Do we have any other bids? We now have 110,000 euros in the room.
For a penny and for a pound.
That bid brings
Don't
us
worry.
to 120.
We'll be out of there in no time.
I better be.
Or arguably his best showcase of this in Uncharted 3, where after being abducted and taken somewhere in the Gulf of Aden by Yemeni pirates, instead of freaking out, he instead opts to tackle the situation cautiously and venture through the ship graveyard, slowly unpacking Ramses' men in the situation, such as opting to gain vantage points via the radio tower. Even after discovering it was a mess, however, he still maintained his cool and quickly even thought of a new strategy. But then, why didn't they also mention the many moments where Reboot Lara lost her cool? They were directly using feats from it, so what was stopping them from also using her weaknesses, which involves many moments like these.
Hey. You okay?
I'm making everything worse.
You're not. Hey, you're not. We can do this. Come on. Where to next? Can't stay here.
I don't know, Jonah!
What was that clue? The heart of the serpent, something.
The heart of the serpent is in the cup, near the many stone faces.
And what kind of cup are we talking about? Some kind of chalice?
A chalice that's not very Mayan. Jonah! Jonah!
Lara? I was so worried.
I failed. Worse.
What do you mean?
Dominguez. He has the dagger. I lost it. After everything that my father went through, I gave Trinity exactly what they wanted. He'll use the box and the knife to remake the world.
To remake it into what?
I don't know, he thinks he can rid it of sin and weakness. A man like that, we have to stop him. It's all my fault.
We'll figure it out, okay? I promise.
No! We have to get to the hidden city before Trinity. We have to find the silver box.
Okay, but first, we're gonna help these people get to safety, and then we'll go after the box.
No one is safe! Not if he gets the box first! I have to go! I'm the only one!
You're the only one that can what? You don't know that you caused all this, Lara! Not everything is about you! These people need us here. We can do good now! Besides, what do we gotta go on? A riddle? We're gonna need more than pink fish and silver crowns to get to the hidden city. I'm gonna help these people. And then I'll find us a plan.
It's weird as all hell. Next up, they confirm my skepticisms with Nate's death by outright stating it was a showcase of his luck apparently running out. But as I stated before, there was absolutely nothing stopping him from just simply rolling out of the way of the propeller. But there's also the fact that, like, what makes you think you can determine the limitations of Nathan's luck We've only ever seen it fail on him once throughout all of the games. And that's when Flynn managed to bag him with a deagle on the gut. That's it. It requires an entire train full of ex-military personnel in order to completely deplete his luck. Even then, he still used his skill to climb through the train down and escape death. He didn't sit in the train and opt to do nothing. Also, as I stated before, if you wanted to feel natural or earned, then you should have given at least an example of his luck kicking in. Also, come to think of it, how didn't the propeller blow up alongside the helicopter? It did in the comic when she blew it up, so I don't know. I could have stopped discussing the fight sequence before no one talks to me again. This fight actively makes me dumber as a human being, the more times I think of it. That's just how shite it is. Now we reach the comparison between Nathan's gun wound and Lara's rebar stab. I saved this for last because I have the most to say here, because oof, much like the rest of the video, they underestimated the hell out of Nathan's situation. First of all, they state that Nathan and Lara experienced the wound in similar locations, and yet Lara lasted longer than Nathan did, who needed extensive care for his wound. What they didn't factor into the equation were the environmental hazards the two also had to endure on top of their wounds. One was stationed in the tropics, whereas the other was in the middle of the Himalayan mountains during a blizzard without any winter gear. As a scientist whiz, I'd expect you to know this, but when in colder conditions, your atoms shrivel each other up and vibrate at much slower levels. Your muscles will also relax and follow suit. This is used to generate warmth, similar to how people will naturally cross their arms and place them into positions where they're touching any limb rather than just loosening them. In hotter climates, the opposite would take into effect. Atoms will vibrate at a faster rate due to the heat increasing their energy. This is why we don't cross our arms, unlike when in cold conditions. Typically, it also makes us move faster. So, why am I saying this? Well, when we're cold, we also typically move slower than usual. Since our atoms are gradually mobilizing themselves the colder it gets, we also move slower. I mean, how many of you people struggle to write a sentence on a cold day of school or clench a fist? With this in mind, and factoring the fact that Nate is in the Himalayas, he shouldn't be capable of doing any of this. He should barely be able to grip the train, and especially the rock walls, as well as barely be capable of clenching a fist and attacking these soldiers who are equipped with winter gear. He should be shriveling into a little ball to generate warmth, rather than pushing through like this. Although, yes, the cold may have also been responsible for decreasing the rate of blood loss, whereas in Lara's case it would actually increase it, when you add on to the fact that he's getting decked by a non-stop blizzard, you'll realize that it doesn't serve as much of a benefit. Plus, Death Battle forgot to mention the fact that he was most likely wandering the mountains for ages. He started on the cliff side of it here, and by the time Tenton bailed him out, he was well and truly already on the other side of it here. There are also other things to factor which Death Battle excluded, like the fact that Nate had to fight wave upon wave of soldiers by himself while also pushing through his body's natural responses of shivering, and the fact that one was shot whereas the other was stabbed. Boomstick says that he'd rather get shot and stabbed by rebar, but what he forgot to address was that Nathan was shot by a desert eagle, which typically sends people flying in the games, and even in real life is nothing to gloss over. But Lara pulled the rebar out and afterwards cauterized the wound, whereas the bullet was sitting comfortably in Nathan's gut the entire time. Not to mention bullets don't just go through your body, they puncture it. They're not as sharp as swords, blades, daggers, etc., which typically go straight through you. Nathan would have suffered more abdomen damage than Lara would have in the long term, since the bullet would have punctured his organs rather than just cutting through them. These feats are quite incomparable. The environmental hazards Nathan also had to endure on top of his gunshot wound were just too much more than Lara's. If you were to ask me which one is worse, I'd say Nathan's easily. He's battling through blizzards and soldiers with no winter gear while bleeding out. Lara's feat is nothing to gloss over, don't get me wrong. Unlike Nate, she patched it enough to endure it easier. That's the power of environmental differences, Death Battle. I guess Wiz is only a scientist when he wants to be. Every other feat we have of these two either getting shot or grazed by bullets, they actually seem very similar. Such as in the Uncharted comic, where Nathan gets shot square in the shoulder, he manages to get back up and still fight off the smoke gods, even after enduring a brutal slash from one of them, which was seen before killing people in one hit. Or this moment when Lara was shot in the shoulder and pulled the bullet right out seconds afterwards. They seem very close to each other in terms of feats, so Death Battle is quite unwarranted here with this remark. In fact, that sums up Nathan vs. Lara. Death Battle failed so miserably at acknowledging just how close the fight between these two would be. Nathan and Lara only barely edge out over each other with feats and capabilities. There's really no guaranteed winner here. It'd be an excessively difficult contest between the two. None outright stomps the other in anything. That's legit the whole reason so many people pit these two against each other, because it'd be a close as hell match, or at least in my eyes. People seem frighteningly all too happy to just brush aside the person who casually defeats trained soldiers like they're nothing. This episode is easily one of the worst death battles, which is odd really. because one of my favorite episodes involves a character I really like dying to someone who I'm not a huge fan of. Mob vs. Tatsumaki is an amazing episode despite my much preferred character the bunch losing. It's one of my favorites because they actually did great research there and measured each other's maximum potentials in such an incredible way that the win felt earned. Unlike here, where they stumped up so badly with so much stuff regarding Nathan to baffling extents, doing him so dirty in the process, but you know, that just seems to be the new normal thing to do with him, huh? Well, you couldn't quite pull the curtains over me, Death Battle. Do much better than this shite. But what about me? What if I were to make a video detailing who I think would win? What if my initial inspiration for Death Battle came back into full effect and I created my own Death Battle, or dirty fight I suppose, delivering on who I think is likely to win from the bunch, adding in zero inconsistencies, addressing strengths and weaknesses through an unbiased lens, and delivering on the promise of actually answering who would win between these two icons? Well, I guess it's a video for another day, huh? Until then, have a quarktastic day everyone. I'm out.